Hello, and welcome to An Uprising behind the scenes. Now, before we get started, I want to clarify, I know as well as you what we're talking about here. We're talking about a film that was made by one person, and it was made with a $0 budget. So I'm not about to sit here and tell you about how this film taught me diligence and I learned valuable life lessons and it's actually a masterpiece. No. We all know what we're dealing with, but I thought it would be fun to do it behind the scenes. So with that being said, let's get started. So one of the things that people will ask me when they watch videos that I do is, how did you do that all by yourself? And of course, it's pretty self-explanatory when you see the film, just exactly how everything's cut together. And it does have its difficulties. Every shot, I gotta set up the tripod, set up the camera, walk into the shot, film the shot, turn the camera off, and then say in like an action scene, if there's say there's an elf cutting an orc, I have to first be the elf cutting the orc, kill the camera, then I gotta dress up in my orc costume, and then I gotta go get a reaction shot going as the orc. And of course, I do all my elf shots and then I do all my orc shots, so I'm not changing costumes after every shot, or else it would probably double the amount of time it took me to film. In some of my older movies, that's actually how I did it. Terrible idea. Don't try that. But I would film all the elf shots and then I'd film all the orc shots. So most of the orc shots are them getting killed anyway, so you gotta do a bunch of dying reactions. Most of them I don't even fall down, I just kind of react out of the screen. But there are a few of them where I fall to the ground or I like trip over something that I didn't realize, because I got like the blinders on, I got the mask on, and those are always a little bit interesting. Having no budget is tough, and that obviously comes through when you watch the film, especially in the costume department. And I've had this comment so many times, and of course now looking back on it, I regret using a used car wash mitt for the beards of the dwarves. That was definitely a mistake. In hindsight, I wish I had just spent $5 on a fake beard, because I can't grow one, and just worn it. But instead I had a used car wash mitt on my face for all the dwarf shots, which when the movie aired, and I think it was a Christmas gathering, a family gathering, the movie finally aired. Every time the dwarves would come on screen, there would just be an uproar of laughter because I got a car wash mitt on my face. Yes, I understand that was a mistake. You know, the elves costumes, pretty much the same thing. I just got, the green shirt with, it was just a belt that I thought kind of looked like the Legolas from the actual movie, so I just put that around my shoulders. The bows and the quiver were obviously just PVC pipe. The sword was actually loaned to me from a friend. I remembered that he had that. I'm like, would you be okay with me using it? He said it'd be okay, so I used that. I actually really liked the addition of the elf sword. I wasn't sure what I was going to do for the sword. I was like, well, I could use one of these, but that doesn't really work for an elf. It's like, eh. So I was happy to actually get the curved blade on the elf sword. For King Felion, on his crown, you can see that it's like a plant. That's actually, I pulled that out of my fish tank and duct taped it together, and then I had like a small gem that I just put on the front of it. So that was a pretty basic costume. Yes, the car wash mitts were a mistake, but I wanted to do something that kind of looked like armor. I wasn't sure exactly what to do, so I saw a rug in my garage, or it was a carpet, and I just cut it into like, and I put it on, and I'm like, oh, this kind of works. So then I just tied a string around, and I'm like, I guess I got some dwarf armor here. And of course, the helmet is just a bowl, like a mixing bowl that I grabbed out of my kitchen, and I put a belt on it, so it would stay on my head. Of course, I understand nothing screams warrior like a polo. So all my men are wearing polo shirts. Yes, looking back on this, there are definitely things I would do differently. But, you know, that's what I did. That was my $0 budget for you. Bathrobes, you know. I once went trick-or-treating in King Thelion's outfit, and someone asked me, actually they told me, they said, hey, next time you come trick-or-treating, don't wear your bathrobe. And I'm like, oops. And of course, our main antagonist is wearing a bathrobe, so can't seem to get away from the bathrobes. I guess they just look like kingly cloaks or something.
There's also a kingly cloak. I think I will take this.
The orcs, I got fortunate enough to just have those orc masks, so those were pretty basic, you know, just the black coat on the orc, and then on the goblins, just a gray t-shirt. Trolls are a little more challenging to shoot than everyone else is about the same stature, but I try to give, and I don't know if it really comes across on video, I try to give the impression that the trolls are much bigger. Of course, that's why you hear the feet pounding when the troll's walking. And the camera a lot of times will be shooting up at them. I'll just drop the camera down and shoot it up. So the trolls are a little bit of a challenge. The arrows I really like because those look the most natural to film from shot to shot. An elf shoots an arrow, and then in a lot of movies as well, it won't follow the arrow all the way. It'll just show the person and show them getting hit by it. So the arrow actually usually works, and it looks pretty good with one person because that's normally how they're shot anyway. Really like how those turned out. Of course, the melee fights are difficult because you've got one person in every shot. That's why you'll have a lot of shots cut really fast and right in a row. They don't always turn out great. Some of them I like I had the one where King Felion cuts off the goblin's head, and I just filmed the head hitting the tree. I thought that looked pretty cool, but yeah, some of them are a little rough. But you gotta do what you can with what you've got. The walkthrough scenes are always fun to film. Just kidding, they're not. I pretty much just set the camera up and walked through it a bunch of times. And I made the mistake on a lot of them, I think, especially the elf walkthrough scenes, is I would leave the camera panned too far. So the way you make them look better, which they never look great, let's face it, they never look great. But the way to make them look a little bit better is you take a smaller chunk of land and then you just walk through it really fast. So it looks like there's not that much space. The forest that the elves lived in was filmed straight across the street from my house in the Richardson Center Nature Walk. I always loved filming over there because it had a very Middle-earthy feel. I always just liked being over there in general because it had a very Middle-earth feel. But filming over there was great. You could get some really nice shots. The one walkthrough shot where the elves are walking past the water, it's got really good water back there. So there are some good shots to have over there. The dwarves' mine is obviously just in my backyard. It's in one of our sheds. I try to turn the rustic looking shed into a dwarf mine, which kind of works, I guess, but you know, what are you gonna do? Village of Men is also filmed in my backyard. I used the barn to kind of represent a village. The battering ram was simply a big log that I found and a wheelbarrow, so the troll's just pushing the wheelbarrow against the door. I really liked how the catapult turned out. Now, there are a few things that I wished I could have done differently, but just in general, I thought it turned out very well. I was trying to figure out how I would make a catapult, so I literally just put 2 sticks in the ground, 2 boards across, and just kind of started launching stuff. The rock itself was actually tied in to the catapult's cup, so when it was going, It never actually left. If you look closely, you can see the strings on it. It never actually leaves. And then I just filmed a bunch of shots of me throwing the rock. And the rock was kind of fragile, and a friend had loaned it to me, so he wanted to make sure I took care of it. So I had to throw the rock, and then I'd run under the camera and catch the rock before it hit the ground. That's why on a lot of the shots where the goblins are getting hit, you can tell they're catching it because I didn't want the rock to get broken by dropping on the ground. Of course, the music themes were incredibly important to the movie. Some people probably didn't notice, but the dwarves had the dwarven theme from The Hobbit. The elves had the elfin theme. The enemy had the Isengard theme. I really liked how that turned out. Especially in that one shot where the orc is running at the camera. I tried to have each faction's theme play when they got involved in the battle. Thank you for joining us in the behind the scenes of An Uprising. I hope it's been fun.